Hello, we are glad to have you here. Today's video features a very enjoyable mapping setup for the RAIDER Ascendancy. Charged Dash is a damaging movement skill unlike any other. While channeling this skill, you release an illusion of yourself that follows your cursor, emits damaging pulses, and accumulates stages. After it reaches the maximum distance, the damage of released waves is significantly improved. When you stop the channel, you will teleport to the location of the illusion and deal additional damage based on the amount of stages. It converts half of the physical damage into lightning, but it doesn't matter that much in this setup as you will want to use the Voidforge sword anyway. The illusion travels at 130% of your movement speed, but it can't exceed a certain range. While channeling, you are considered stationary, so you can use popular Ralakesh's Impatience boots to have all your charges active, although the build provides enough ways to generate frenzy and power charges anyway. The RAIDER Ascendancy provides you with exceptional amounts of attack and movement speed by enhancing the effectiveness of your frenzy charges. The defensive side of this ascendancy grants you a lot of spell suppression and elemental ailment avoidances, which can be then capped up to 100% with just a few passive tree notables and modifiers on your items. Holding the channel seems to be more efficient than releasing it as soon as you reach the maximum amount of stages. High movement speed is important for the clear, but it lowers the damage of the final wave. It is a rather tanky build. You will have lots of armor and evasion rating. It is easy to reach 100% chance to suppress spell damage and avoid elemental ailments, and you can use charged dash teleportation to dodge incoming attacks. Physical damage over time effects are quite dangerous, however. With enough amount of damage, the clear speed is great and the gameplay is very enjoyable. Single target damage is mediocre as the waves can't overlap. Charged dash can be dangerous to use when fighting bosses, but you can use any other attack skill with this setup if you make a few adjustments. This setup uses the Voidforge sword, which needs certain affixes on your gear to work properly, so you should have around 30 divine orbs before you attempt this build. The build uses only a few unique items. The Voidforge sword is a centerpiece of this build, and all other gear choices are made around that weapon. The Abyssus and Lauraweave are optional, although they work very well with that sword. The Traitor Keystone provided by the Brutal Restraint Jewel greatly affects your rare gear piece choices. The Voidforge sword grants 700% of your added physical damage as extra elemental damage of random type. It also causes all elemental damage to inflict shock, and improves your area of effect. It is a very powerful sword that needs specific modifiers on your remaining gear to be the most effective. Abyssus is a very strong helmet for this build. It grants unmatched amounts of physical damage as well as critical strike multiplier. It also significantly increases the physical damage you take from all sources, which makes bleed damage very dangerous. Try to get one with an enchant for one of your aura's mana reservation efficiency. Lauraweave is an offensive focused armor. It grants a lot of flat physical damage, increases your elemental damage, and improves your critical strike chance. It also sets your maximum resistance to a certain value, which cannot be lowered by other sources, such as map modifiers. Ralakesh's Impatience is an easy way to gain all your charges, as while channeling you are considered to be stationary. You can use those if you prefer RAIDER's Enhanced and Permanent Onslaught instead of Frenzy charge generation, which provides less overall damage but more movement speed. This jewel converts nearby keystones into special ones. With the Balbala version, it grants the Traitor Keystone, which generates flask charges based on the amount of your empty flask slots. That way you can easily sustain 3 elemental flasks without killing enemies, which frees up a lot of suffixes on your rare gear. The Watcher's Eye is a powerful jewel that can greatly improve your damage or flask sustain if you use relevant precision aura modifiers. It can also boost your defenses while you use Determination and Grace auras. On your rare gear you should look for flat physical damage, increased elemental damage, and critical strike multiplier. Attack speed is also useful to have. Defensively, you should look for maximum life, elemental and chaos resistance, spell suppression, or elemental ailment avoidance. Sources of physical damage taken as elemental are very powerful, but obtainable only on helmet and body armor. You can use a hunter or elder influenced rare armor that improves the critical strike chance of your attacks and provides various defensive modifiers such as maximum life, spell suppression chance, or large quantities of resistance. Look for an amulet that grants you lots of added physical damage, increases your elemental damage with attacks, or improves your critical strikes. It should also grant you maximum life and some attributes or resistances. You can craft it using the Essence of Contempt on an amulet with the Fractured Elemental Damage modifier. You can use a pair of rare boots that grant you a lot of maximum life, movement speed, and resistance. They should also provide at least 30% elemental ailment avoidance, so you can become fully immune to those effects. Here you can find lots of useful modifiers. Look for attack speed, flat physical damage, and various increases to your damage. They should also provide maximum life and some resistance or spell suppression chance. With Eldritch Implicits you can improve your accuracy rating and generate rage. A good rare belt can greatly improve your flask sustain with your belt, but it can also grant plenty of damage, or improve your maximum life and resistance. Use the Stygian Vice to be able to use one additional Abyss Jewel. Here you can get a lot of flat physical damage for your sword attacks, as well as some maximum life, lacking resistances and attributes, or critical strike multiplier. You should also get immunity to corrupted blood available through Corrupted Implicit. Similarly to your amulet, on your rare rings you should look for bonuses to your physical and elemental damage. It should also provide you with maximum life, resistance, and attributes. You can craft a special modifier that lowers your mana costs of channeling skills. The best use of your rare jewels would be to get a lot of critical strike multiplier and boost your maximum life. They can also improve your mana reservation efficiency, increase your attack speed, or grant immunity to corrupted blood. The Taste of Hate flask greatly reduces your physical damage taken by converting part of it to be taken as cold damage instead. Since it is a sapphire flask, it also grants a lot of cold resistance and reduces the cold damage you take on top of that. For your remaining magic flasks we recommend using Ruby Flask with attack speed bonus, Quicksilver Flask with critical strike chance bonus, and a Topaz Flask with armor rating bonus. You should leave one flask slot empty for the Trader Keystone. Charged Dash is the main damage and movement skill for this build. During the channeling it releases an illusion that you can control. While channeling it releases damaging pulses. Ending the channel releases a final wave of damage and teleports you to the illusion location. The awakened melee physical damage is a great way to apply Intimidate debuff on your enemies, which increases the attack damage they take from you. The awakened elemental damage with attacks is a bit more expensive, but it grants you immunity to elemental reflect. The Grace is a defensive aura that grants you a lot of flat evasion rating and helps improve it further. The Determination is the second defensive aura. It is very similar to the Grace but provides armor rating instead. Arctic Armor reduces the physical damage you take while stationary, and applies chill to your enemies when they attack you. You can also use the Blood and Sand aura to improve your damage instead. Herald of Purity improves your physical damage and summons helpful minions that take the attention of your enemies. The Precision is a very useful aura that grants lots of accuracy rating and improves your critical strike chance. All those auras should be linked with the Enlightened support to lower their mana costs. If you don't have enough mana reservation efficiency, you can use a low-level Precision, and get more accuracy rating on your gear. Assassin's Mark improves your critical strike chance, and grants additional critical strike multiplier against marked enemies. It also generates power charges for you. You can automatically apply this mark on rare and unique enemies, but it will have a slightly reduced effect. Use the Life Tap support if your unreserved mana is not high enough to use this spell. Leap Slam performs a quick jump toward the targeted location. Struck monsters are stunned and pushed back. You can move around using the Charged Dash, but this skill is significantly better at quickly dodging attacks and moving around empty spaces. High amounts of attack speed make it even better. Ancestral Protector summons a totem that activates only if you are in relatively close range to it. When active, it significantly improves your attack speed. The Ancestral Warchief totem grants you a buff that improves your melee damage. The Vol version grants even more damage, and follows your enemies. Thanks to the multiple totem support, you can summon a total of 3 totems at once. You shouldn't link it to Vol Ancestral Warchief, as it would use both charges at once. Blood Rage is a buff that improves your attack speed, but consumes your life as physical damage over time effect. The damage it deals is somewhat impactful when you use Abyssus Helmet, but you can easily out-heal it with a Life Leech. Molten Shell is a powerful guard skill that absorbs part of the incoming damage based on the amount of armor rating you have. The Vol version grants a barrier that absorbs more damage and lasts longer, but shares soul cost with the Vol Ancestral Warchief. Kill all bandits to get an additional 2 passive tree skill points. You can also help Alira to get an early game boost, but that choice should be revisited later on. For your major Pantheon god power, we recommend the Soul of Era Kali, which reduces the damage you take from damage over time effects such as bleeding or poison. Using Leap Slam when you are bleeding can be deadly, and to prevent that we recommend using the Soul of Ralakesh as your minor Pantheon power. You can also use the Soul of Tukahama, which works greatly with the stationary aspect of the charged dash, or Soul of Shikari to further reduce damage from poisons. The leveling process is straightforward, as you will have lots of useful notables ready at your disposal fairly early into the game. You can start using any elemental attack to your liking, such as Molten Strike or Frost Blades, and transition to the charged dash once you unlock that skill at level 28. The build scales its damage with bonuses to physical and elemental damage. The Voidforge has no conversion, it adds your physical damage as extra elemental damage instead. Converting the remaining 50% of the physical damage to elemental is a minor damage upgrade, and it's quite costly, so in most cases it is not worth pursuing. On the passive tree, you will pick a lot of useful notables that boost your damage, maximum life, or critical strikes. You can also get utility such as Fortify on hit, mana reservation efficiency, or spell suppression. The Thick Skin notable and the Raider's Avatar of the Veil provides a 70% chance to avoid elemental ailments, so it is very easy to cap it out and become fully immune to those effects. The Trader Keystone and 2 Flask passive clusters are used to sustain your elemental flasks without killing any enemies. During regular mapping you can use more flasks to enhance your clear speed and damage, and still have 100% uptime on them. We hope you will give this skill a try, it is a very fun and unique playstyle. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Have a good day, and see you next time.